So I'm going to call to order the May 4th Finance and Audit Committee meeting. It is a few minutes past 1. And I'm going to read the statement of announcement. A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the May 4th, 2022 Finance and Audit Committee meeting was distributed May 2nd, 2022 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. Americans with Disabilities Act. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance. All right, I'd like someone to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So move.
Okay, second. All right. Agenda is adopted as presented. The next item on our agenda is to review the minutes from the April meeting, which are on pages 2 through 5. The April Finance and Audit Committee meeting. If no one has any changes to the minutes, can I get a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Yes. So moved.
Thanks. Minutes are approved as presented. The next item on our agenda is the financial approval and threshold report. Candace Colston, I believe, is going to report that there are no updates. So come right up.
Okay. Come too early, sorry.
Okay.
Good afternoon. For the monthly financial approval and threshold reporting for May 2022, we have no items for approval for all categories.
All right. Do you anticipate any for June? Because I know we haven't had any the last 2 months.
Probably we will. We're in the process of issuing a solicitation for the maintenance for the lawn care service. So depending on what those bids come back, and we would know something soon after that. So as soon as we get those bids in.
Okay. All right. If no questions, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda. Okay, so the next item is the fee for service update for by Lori Manus. Lori?
Good afternoon, everybody. So as you know, we went full fee for service on April 1st. So we've kind of got a whole month of billing behind us. We looked at the data. It's been very successful. There were more than 107,000 claims submitted during the month of April, and the pay rate ended up being 99.8%. So there's the few that are denying for good reason. We've had some confusion by some of the folks using the web tool, but other than that, it's been really, really successful. In fact, HHS has commented that that 99.8% pay rate is actually well above the normal everyday Medicaid provider pay rate. So feel really good about it. We are continuing to meet and monitor claims. There's a little bit of a wait, I won't call it a concern, but a wait on some of the providers who've kind of held their claims. So we're kind of using this next couple of weeks to make sure those guys get over the finish line and we know what's going on. And then that will probably start backing off, because we're actually, I'm actually looking at every denied claim before it denies. Like they know ahead of time it's going to deny. Then we're going in and looking at it to see if there's anything we can do to address it on the front end.
And the holding of the payments, or not the payments, but the paperwork or whatever, is the provider chooses not to do weekly
Sure.
or whatever, for whatever
Yeah, so
reason. Yeah.
base providers in the TheraP system and in the web tool have the ability to submit claims every day. They can do it multiple times a day. They can do it every week. They can do it every month. But for whatever reason, there are providers that just want to kind of submit everything at one time and get their bulk payment at one time, because that's the way they want to do their business.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Any questions for Lori? Barry, are you good?
I don't really have any questions. I just want to say that I think it's remarkable how well this has gone, and obviously we've talked about how we appreciate the staff's efforts in this regard, but it's just amazing to me how much worry there was done about this and how much people thought, oh, the sky's going to fall, and it's turned out to be just wonderful. But the sky's not falling, not even close. And I mean, how many times Pat told us everything was going to be horrible, I don't know. But anyway, I'm just thankful.
Yeah, I think it has gone very well. I think the payment piece has gone very well. But I think from a standpoint of the effect of the amount of payment and full fee for service, you know, we kind of have some waiting time to see how that goes, whether agencies are able to fully operate in that environment.
Right.
And, you know, we're doing what we can to kind of help folks to make sure they get the payments in the full amounts in the shortest amount of time that they want to get them, because that's what we can control, you know. So, but I think from a financial healthiness perspective of each of the provider agencies, that's something that we really just have to see.
Wait and see. We haven't gotten any desperate calls for any providers. Just kind of thinking back to like when we switched to fee for service for case management, I felt like we had like all this attention on this percentage and who's falling on, you know,
We haven't gotten desperate calls yet, but it's been 1 month, right? And you have to recognize that for that month, HHS issued kind of these transition bridge payments that are not loans, they're payments.
Yeah.
So the system is pretty healthy right now because of the real efforts by provider agencies to, you know, do everything they can to try to just not have there be this huge drop off. We also reconciled January, February, March. Remember, we really went full fee for service in January. For January and February, if people billed less than we paid them in the capitated system, we held them harmless, but we issued payments if you billed more than what we had paid you. And then in March, we kind of did a full reconciliation. And I think there was only two.
Just one. I'll talk about it.
Okay, so there was really just one provider that didn't bill more than what we had given them, which means their revenue that they were generating in March while we were still billing was more than the band payment that we paid them. So that's good news, you know.
Okay,
with the rate increases and all that, you know, it just appears that things are healthy in the system right now.
Good. All right. Thank you for that update. Okay. Next item, financial update, Nancy.
Good afternoon. This is the spending plan versus the actual expenditures for the end of April. Spending plan was approved at $851.1 million to date, and this is a draft. We have had cash expenditures of $564.7 million go out from DDSN. Add the wash of that, of what happens at HHS, 116.7. So monthly expenditures for all of our consumers and our services would be 681.5. It leaves us remaining spending of 169.6. We're under our budget expenditures, But I think because it's fee for service. So I expect these, our cash expenditures to be quite different. I only estimated about 11 million of our state match, which is typically what we've been spending in the prior months, but that should be increased once we get further information.
All right. So by the time we have our commission meeting, this numbers will probably be different. Okay. All right. Any questions on this? If not, we'll move on to the next item. Good, Barry? Okay, thank you. I think we're good. All right, thanks. The next item on our agenda are the cost reports update in March, reconciliations of residential habilitation providers. Debbie.
Good afternoon. Hi, my report on the cost report for FY21, which is due on June 30th, is still on schedule to be submitted to DHHS by June 30th. Just wanted to give you a little bit of information on this. The cost reports are broken down into 3 pieces, just so that you know. There's the vetting of the provider cost reports, there's the working of our trial balance, and the central office cost report, depreciation, Q5 adjustments and reclasses are the 3rd piece. The vetting of the provider cost reports are completed for FY21. That is the largest and the most time-consuming piece of the cost report process. We are about 100% done on some pieces, 90% on some of the others with regards to the adjustments and so forth. The trial balance is 100% completed. So we are definitely on track for being able to have the 2021 cost report submitted on or before June 30th. The cost report for 2020, which is due the 12th of August, about 75% of those provider cost reports have already been vetted. The trial balance has been worked on, so we actually have, we're ahead of the game with regards to the 2020 cost report as well. And that is my report on cost reports. Any questions?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Barry,
Okay.
you have any comments or thoughts or questions? Okay, Barry, okay. Okay.
I don't
All right,
have any
Barry.
questions.
Okay, Barry will speak up when he has something to say.
With regards to the fee-for-service and band
You
payment.
don't have to worry about that. I'll certainly do that.
I know you will, so.
As you're aware, a reconciliation between fee-for-service and the band payment system was required for all agencies providing residential habilitation for the month of March. That would entail what I would call a 2-way settlement. The reconciliation was computed as follows, just briefly to tell you how it was calculated. The first part is the part that was paid to providers for the month of March. That happened in 2 ways. It happened versus 2 payments of a band payment, or it happened in invoices with the private providers based on March activity. The second part of it was determined by the number of units for day services for residential consumers, including individual employment and residential activity. This included state funded as well as approved leave days, which was also approved by programs. If the band payments or the invoices were higher than the fee-for-service calculations, then the agencies, the boards and private providers, were obligated to pay DDSN back the difference. If the fee-for-service calculations were greater than the band payment, then DDSN was going to be obligated to pay the agencies the difference. The results were as follows. The boards were paid an additional $1,975,000, with all boards receiving additional funding but one. This one board that owed DDS money has already paid that money to DDSN. This made the net effect of additional funding paid out to just the boards $1,950,000. The private providers were paid an additional $315,000. This represented 7 private providers. The money was 121,000 for 11 providers. The net effect of the additional monies that were paid out by DDSN was $193,000. Therefore, the overall net cost to DDSN for the March fee for service reconciliation was $2,143,000. Any questions?
Was that amount anticipated? I mean, was that like what you thought it would be? Is it higher? Is it let me just
When
curious.
we discussed this back in, I would say probably the end of November, beginning of December, yes, the plan was, we definitely felt that that with the increase of the rates, that the boards were going to make out better. Now, if you had seen and looked at the comparison of all 3 of the months, February was not a good month for just about anybody, but what you have to recognize is there was only 28 days in February. They got the full band payment for February, but they were only able to bill for 28. So that's what created the negative effect in February. By March, everybody was processing. We saw a significant increase in the SLP1 billings along with day services billings.
What do you happen to know, the average occupancy rates of the day programs? I know we had at a time talked about day program and go getting back to the full occupancy or as much as, we could in terms of, providers being able, to provide the programming and stuff like that. So you just kind of made me think about that when you brought up.
I don't have it handy,
okay.
but I can get it to you.
We haven't talked about it in a while and it just kind of made me think about it.
I have the figures downstairs. I can easily calculate the percentage.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, I'm just kind of curious, kind of what that is, as I hear you say day programs. Okay, well, thank you for that. All right. The next item is the 5-year capital improvement plan, and Andrew's going to come up.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Barron. For those who don't know me, I'm the engineering director here at the agency, and I'm here to present the 5-year capital improvement plan for the agency. And to give a little bit of background on what this is for people who don't know or for new committee members, every state agency once a year in June is required to submit a 5-year capital improvement plan. So any state agency that like us, we own an inventory of buildings. On our campuses, we probably have about 140, 150 buildings. Probably add 60 to that if you include central office and the community residences. So the agency operates probably about 200 different buildings if you were to count them all up. But anyways, this is a 5-year plan on maintaining those facilities. What we have to submit downtown in June is a 5-year plan, and that is one of the handouts here. And on the other handout represents basically a more detailed description of what the year one items look like. So what we're presenting to the Finance Committee and would like to take some commission is approval on the 5-year plan, as well as year one items that we intend to open and start phase one design and construction on after June or after the summertime once we submit it downtown.
Okay, so typically the commission approves the 5-year plan every 5 years, or like how does that work?
Every year, yeah, we submit a 5-year plan once a year. So if you were to look at last year's 5-year plan, year two items generally would rotate up to the top of the list. It's not that clean. I mean, things get moved around. Yeah. And we put this list together by meeting with the regional centers. We typically start meeting at the beginning of the year in January. We sit down with each one, kind of go over last year's list and needs that are coming up and kind of rearrange things to submit this year.
So we approve the plan knowing that it will likely.
Yeah, I mean, really what you got to pay attention here is year one are items that we're looking to start after we submit downtown in June. Year two items are things that we have a good feeling of coming up. Years 3, 4, and 5, they're subject to change.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure I understand.
But again, the more detailed list that you guys have, these are things that we are looking to start June, July. And I do have one correction I would like to make before we get to vote on this. If you look at the 5-year plan list, year 2, items 3 and 4, I believe the copy you guys have say Highlands Dorm 220 and Highlands 620 on 3 and 4. Those should read Hillside. That's just one correction I wanted to make there.
You said Highlands and it should be Hills.
Should be Hillside 220 and
Okay.
Hillside 620 on those two items.
I see it once, Highlands, but you said twice?
Yes, if you look at the year 2,
Okay.
third and fourth item.
Yeah.
Year 2.
Okay.
I believe y'all's copy says Highlands where it should read Hillside.
Okay. Actually, it does say Hillside. Yeah.
So I guess it goes-
Page 4, I mean, page 9, which is page 2, I think, of the document, says Highlands Developmental Building.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, those two were.
Okay, thanks for checking. Yeah. Yeah, we got it. Thank you for checking that. Okay.
Any questions with regards to what's on the list? Typically, when we put this list together, this list would represent anything that's over $100,000. Any project over $100,000, we have to go to Department of Administration for approval. Now, you could come up with a list of projects for $100,000 that's a mile long. We try to focus on things that are going to help facilities last longer: roofs, HVAC systems, fire protection systems, and things that are going to allow us to occupy these buildings as long as possible.
So,
I-
thinking about the coastal thing we just, fire that we just voted on not so long ago, what was it?
The power grids.
Okay, yeah, the power,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, those are year 1 items from last year. They're still in process. We're still kind of messing around with the Dominion and trying to get.
Right, so that is making me think of my next question, which is it often that you start a project in like the year 1 category, and is it ever finished in a year?
Some of these are a lot of these
I
are.
know
bigger,
everyone's
yeah.
different, but like, I guess what's the,
A lot of these are longer or bigger projects. Just to get approval on a lot of these projects, when we start going downtown for phase 1, phase 2 approval, it'll take us probably 3 to 4 months to get full approval from downtown
okay,
before we even start. A lot of the year 1 projects from last year, we're running into supply issues
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. A couple of them were roofing projects, and we're not expecting to have materials on the ground until this fall from year 1 projects from last year. So yeah, things don't get up and moving quick,
Right.
but they are still all in motion. So
Would those year 1 from last year then continue to be year 1 then on here?
no, they are not listed on here. They are open and active projects. We've gotten phase 1 and phase 2 approval from downtown on them. They're off of this list. They're off the 5-year plan, and they are active projects.
question, because these are all, the only thing that's on this list are new things that
Yeah,
we've
this is
never
all-
seen or approved
Okay.
before.
Correct. This is a conceptual list of.
Okay, okay.
What would be I think what would be very helpful to the commission whenever we actually approve this, because we're not going to actually approve it today, where the commission is going to approve it at the next meeting, I'm assuming, if y'all bring it to the next meeting,
Yes.
is that I think we'd like to know what the changes were from last year's approved to this year's approved. You said there was every year there's things that are subject to change, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. But what I'm saying is I think the commission would like to know what was taken off of year 1 last year and what was put on from year 2. You understand what I'm saying? How it changed from last year to this year, the year 1 projects. And I think more importantly, that the commission will probably approve this subject to change, as you said, particularly year 2 through 5, because we don't have a 5-year budget. So we don't know what we can approve 3, 4, 5 years from now. I realize you have to, because downtown, as you call it, they make you do that. But I'm just saying it's very hard for a commission to decide what they can do 4 years from now.
Yeah, understood. And we can provide last year's 5-year plan, so you can put them next to each other and see what's on both. So
Nice it would be nice if you would just kind of put it next to one another and just tell us at the next meeting what changed. I think most of them would like to know that. They just don't like to take a lot of time to look at things as much, but I mean, I don't mind doing it, but I think other people might.
Yes, we can.
All right. That was the main.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Yes. Next item is internal audit update from Courtney.
Thank you. So I'll start with our update on our agreed upon procedures reports. So we've completed the review of 32 of the 40 agreed upon procedures reports for the DSM boards, and 8 are in process. The review is complete for 6 of the 9 private providers with June 30 year ends, with 3 in process. 3 of the private providers have a September 30 year end, so that review is complete for 2 of the 3, and we have not received the 3rd report. The reports were due on April 30th for 34 of the private providers with a December 31st year end. So we've received 22 of those, 16 are complete, and the reviews are in process for 6. 2 have requested and received extensions until May 15th. So our 2021 contract reductions are currently at $34,700. So that's going to include late audit reports, late agreed upon procedures reports, and late corrective action plans. So your quarterly audit observation tracking report was sent out in late April. So we've been working to streamline our follow-up process to be able to complete these procedures with greater efficiency. And we're going to continue to prioritize our follow-up procedures, focusing on the higher risk audit observations and corrective action plans that are outstanding. So we're also working to complete several ongoing audits. So our team has been working hard to complete field work for the engagements in our audit plan prior to the end of the fiscal year. We recently shifted some audit resources, adding a second auditor to the regional center's client banking system audit to help us achieve that goal. May I answer any questions for you?
No, I don't think I have any. We met earlier.
You can repeat what you said at the end, the last sentence. What was that again? I'm sorry, Courtney.
We had shifted some audit resources to add a second auditor to the regional center's client banking system audit. So that's just to help us get that finished before the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, ma'am. Would you mind giving me a call this afternoon before you leave your office about something else?
Sure, I'll do that.
I should be available this afternoon. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is from Tracy Hunt, the Chief Financial Update and Consultant Report. Tracy?
Good afternoon, everyone. We have a couple of updates to provide for you guys. The financial strengthening project that we've been talking about for the past couple of months, we received back a statement of work from a vendor that is on state contract, and we have a meeting scheduled with leadership here at the agency to go through that statement of work to make sure that's what we're wanting to present, that's going to help the boards have maybe an opportunity to have some support with their financial trainings. So that is on our agenda to meet and go through that statement of work. The state auditor's office is coming over and meeting with us next week to begin the process of their audit engagement on our financial practices. It's going to be exciting to have them come over and look at what we've been doing and offer any kind of best practices or confirm what we're doing is a best practice and let us know if they see anything that we should note or have notated for you guys. And we will make sure to keep you apprised of that process and let you know where we are on it. And of course, once we have a final report, we will share that with this committee and the commission as well. Another thing that was requested in the committee or commission meeting was to have a consultant list, and that is in your packet as well. And it is comprised of 3 pages, and this has anything that we could find that was a consulting kind of service. A lot of it, I think you'll be very, or actually all of it, very familiar with, because they're all things that have had to go through approvals, or they're recurring items that we have every single year with services, especially out in our centers that are provided for health services. Please look at that attachment and let me know if you have any questions. And those are our main updates from this office.
Barry, do you have a specific question on any of these?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about this, about this particular, would the Carolina Legal Services, what, legal services they provide, do we know?
Oh, the Carolina Legal Associates? I can get you more information on that. So you're wanting to know the specific services that those are being
Well,
provided?
generally I do, because I mean, maybe Michelle already knows, but I just was interested to know what that was for, and there's another one on here that I was particularly interested in.
Okay, which other one?
Well, I'm assuming that the Chris Lagarde cost reports consultant will not be on next year. Is that correct? That should be over with, right?
Well, you remember our cost reports, our goal is August 1st. So that will lapse into next year just by a month. So it will be on next year's list unless Debbie, am I understanding that correctly? Yeah. So yes, sir, since we're hitting that August 1st date, July is the first month of the year. So we will have a small amount for him. But that's a good question, Commissioner.
Thank you. The other big one that I had was TAPFIN. What did they provide to us? It says professional services.
I can tell you that I'm familiar with that company, but I know that's technology. So I can get you more information from that department and let you know exactly what that is. But that's technology services, right, Preston? Yeah. Yeah, I just, from other agencies I've worked at, that's usually my IT department that I go to and get a summary, but I can provide that with you. If I'm not mistaken, that's something to do with technology.
Well, maybe our technology person has to do more of that. I don't know, but I don't need a 10-page report, but I'd like to have like a page of what that, because that's a lot of money.
Absolutely.
But I do want to say that I'm thankful that we have this report, and I'm glad that we created it, and this is what I had in mind whenever this is the kind of thing that I had in mind whenever we changed the policy for the commission to see consulting reports. Whenever we changed that policy relating to all the things that are not in procurement, that we would see them. This is the kind of thing I had in mind, and so I'm thankful that we created the report, and happy to be able to see it. There was one other thing about it that I wanted to ask.
Sure.
I have this stuff marked, but it's not in order. Wait a second. The other thing I was going to ask in general was, I realize and fully understand that all these centers need the physical therapy services. I would be very hard. I mean, I'd be very bad off without my physical therapy and all these other services that they have, like psychiatric and things of that nature. But I just wondered, how long do we know how long those contracts last? And rather the administrator of the particular facility has leeway as to who they hire and not hire for those kind of services, to see if they can make sure they get the most for their money, considering how much money these things cost. And more importantly, that the people that we serve get the most for their money, for the money that we pay for them. Do they have leeway in that regard, or how does these contracts work?
Yeah, I'd have to research and get you some more information, but from my understanding, It is, I know, difficult to find services and providers that will come in and do the kind of work that we need. So I'm sure, of course, we've followed, all the procedural things, but I know.
I know, I'm sure we did. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is going forward, we might want to look at other options or opportunities if you have a different director of a facility that might want to make some change. And I just I really wanted to make sure that they knew if they do have flexibility, that they do have it. And I just want to know if they do have. That's the main thing I was asking.
Well, yeah, there is flexibility, for anybody that's wanting to go out and do a contract or consulting. First, going on the state contract list, is one thing that we go for. And then depending on the service that's offered, you may have to go out and do a sole source if they're the only person in the state that can travel and do what is needed at that facility. So it depends on the, of course, the amount and the thresholds, but I understand exactly what you're saying, Commissioner. If that's something you would like for me to make sure to relay to them and let them know that they do have flexibility in the limits that, that they still have to follow with state procurement, I can do so.
Yeah, it would also be helpful if you had, in the next time we see this kind of report, that if we see which ones are sole source, because that kind of matters.
Okay.
Because if they're sole source, that means that we're kind of, that anyway, there's reasons for that. But those are interesting to note, the sole source contracts, I think.
Okay, we can note that. That's not a big ask at all.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all I know of right now.
I got you. And I think that we all decided this was going to be quarterly.
Yes.
So I'll have this at the next, unless you need an update next time, we'll discuss it at the next quarterly meeting.
Well, that's fine. If you'll just send me an email about the questions that I had you could actually send the committee if they want to see it.
Sure.
About the questions that I had and the email for that between now and then.
Yeah, that won't take long for me to pull up and I'll pull up skis and get that information and send it out.
I can provide information on the Carolina legal staffing. That is from last year before I had started, but when our General Counsel Constance was on maternity leave, as you all know, we used to only have one attorney at all of DDSN, and we utilized their services to help provide legal staffing in the interim.
So that probably won't be there next year.
It's hard to say, but I anticipate, from time to time, anytime that that particular contract may not be there, but I don't want to set up the expectation that we would not have contracted services for outside legal counsel, because anytime that we have litigation matters, we have outside counsel for those.
Absolutely, right.
With that would include whenever the commission's counsel comes.
That is correct. Now, that's not under this particular staffing contract.
No, it's not. I just thought that was interesting, but it's not.
What I said to.
No, I don't need, I don't necessarily have to see it. I'm just saying that's an example of what you're talking about, and that's not on this sheet.
Yes.
Right. I'm not saying we shouldn't have outside legal counsel at times. I just think it's interesting whenever that wasn't a large amount of money. So it's not particularly concerning. I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything on this sheet that won't be there anymore because we've decided to make a change or make things different or whatever. Well, that's part of what I was trying to. The other thing is I wanted to make sure, I just want us to be, I don't mind spending money. I know that's what the state is for the people that we serve, but we just want to make sure they get the value for the money they deserve. And that's a big thing about all these major contracts that we have with these professional services. But anyway, back to it one more time. I'm thankful to see the report, and I'm thankful that we have it, and I think it goes a long way towards transparency, and we're thankful that we're moving in this direction.
Yeah, thanks, Barry.
And I'm not going to say anything else, I don't think, the rest of the day.
You're okay, well, we're almost over, so you probably can't. Well, thanks, Tracy, to you and your team for pulling this together for us. We know this wasn't on your radar to do last month. So I really appreciate y'all spending the time to pull this together for us. So thank you. All right, I think we are at the end of our agenda. The next meeting is going to be June the 6th at 3 p.m. Due to some scheduling things, we need to change it that month to that date. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Before I make one, let me say that I was not expecting this meeting to go this fast, and I'm very thankful it did, and everybody did a wonderful job overall.
Thank you, Barry.
And I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, second. All right, our May Finance and Audit committee meeting is adjourned at 1:45. Thank you so much.